What up, Dokkanners? We got some big news in terms of the file size optimization project. This was something that was announced back in October of 2025. We had a bit of an issue towards the end of the year, and now we have had our first update since then. Hasn't really been discussed explicitly. This is more back-end stuff that we only see through data downloads and data mining, but I still wanted to talk about it because we could be now moving in the right direction. So this all started back in October of 2025 when they gave the producer's letter for October discussing all of the things that they were going to be doing as a lead up to the 11th anniversary. Dragonstone Navigator, account power level, calculation changes, rank cap increase. There was information on the tech, mini Super Saiyan 4 Daima and all that stuff. But they also talked about the file size optimization that was going to be starting, that was going to be gradually reduced over time until the beginning of the 11th anniversary. So this was meant to be done until the beginning of the 11th anniversary, and that failed miserably because we had our first update for that in December of 2025, where they actually did, and then soon after there was a big controversy. Look at this video right here. I don't want to put my mouse over the thumbnail because that's an actual comparison. That was not altered. The one on the left was the original. The one on the right, you can even tell, even from this distance, it's bad. Obviously the text I adjusted, but the actual comparison is pretty crazy. It didn't work. And so ultimately they reverted back and the file size went back to its original, and we haven't had any sort of update or any sort of word on it since. Now we have, sort of, not again explicitly, but through data mining stuff. So that's what I wanted to talk about in today's video, because we've had our first update in regards to what they have been doing here. The same animations that they were working on before, which was LR Super Saiyan Trio, Daima Super Saiyan 2 Mini Goku active skill, like very specific animations. Beast Gohan, Link Super Attack, Gohan Goten Trunks, LR Int Goku Frieza, Physical Topo, Tech Vegeto's active skill, AGL Super Gogeta's active skill, a lot of different ones. And they have now been able to seemingly successfully reduce the file size of these animations from their original file size down to what this is. And this doesn't give much perspective when you don't know what the original file size is, but we'll talk about one such example in this video. So this reduction has now taken place, and apparently so far it is being received well because the animations look far better than they did before. So I was looking through my video because I couldn't find the old tweets myself, but you can see here, this was, I believe, one of the French data miners. This is a screenshot, but you can tell it's really bad. This Gogeta active skill looks disgusting. It looks like it was dipped in like oatmeal water or something. It looked really, really bad. And a lot of people were reporting like desync problems, and it just looked very pixelated and choppy and ripped. There was some screen tearing. Not the screen tearing that you see in the normal Gogeta animation, but like the worst ones. The one, it looks like it's de-resing. It was bad, right? That's not apparently happening with this new compression, which is really good because finally, there could be a future where people on older devices could continue to run their games without having to uninstall or, you know, jettison various apps off of their devices to accommodate this game. It's so sad hearing people say they have to stop playing the game because they can't fit it on their phones. That's just so sad. It's so sad. So let's go ahead and go into further detail about the technical stuff behind it, because I have a little bit of information about it and I would like to share it with y'all. So let's just take, for example, the LR AGL Super Gogeta. So this is the 11th anniversary, or sorry, this is the 10th anniversary, but this is our compression. And dude, this is Twitter at its finest. This is Gogeta's compression post second attempt. So right now, the one that we just got in this recent data download, this is this one. And this is the compression from, oh, hello, right there. This is the compression from December 2025. You can't tell a difference. You can't tell a difference at all. Why? Because Twitter sucks. So, but we are going to be using this as an example. So take, for example, the LR Super Gogeta Super Attack animation. The original file size is apparently, for that Super Attack animation, 95 megabytes. So originally what they do with these animations, I'm just breaking this down in layman's terms, so I'm not going over like exactly what happens, but it's a combination of movie files, which are pre-rendered movie sequences combined with still images in certain spots to create an animation that will accommodate variable PNGs or variable images to interact with the animation. So what I'm trying to say is a character will use their attack. It's got his whole set piece, animation, glow, and all that stuff. But then the character that they're fighting has to seemingly fit within the confines of the animation. So that is where still images and extra assets here and there are needed in order to make that a very seamless animation flow, not just the background pre-rendered image. Because if it's just one pre-rendered background animation, you can't have extra characters appearing on it because that wouldn't work. So what they do with all of those things put together, it eats up a lot of memory. There's a lot of still images combined with these pre-rendered movies, and it makes for a very layered video sequence. These movie files are like LWF file type, apparently, mixed with USM file types. That part is not that important, but it's like all technical weird stuff. So what did they do? They basically removed as much clutter as they possibly can. Any possible instance where a static image was used, where it doesn't necessarily have to be used because it's not interactive with any sort of variable PNG, they have now moved it into the pre-rendered background flow, to my understanding. So they have now removed whatever they can. They have streamlined the animation sequence as much as possible, reducing whatever static images are left over to the bare essentials, and they have reduced the file size through that. And so apparently, here's some numbers for you. The original attempt back in December for this 95 megabyte AGL Super Gogeta animation, it was originally 95 megabytes. They reduced it down to 3.6 megabytes, which is an insane reduction. That's 95% reduction. And we saw what happened with that 95% reduction. It was not received well because it looked like crap. It caused syncing issues, and it just did not look good. But now, today, April 26th, April 27th, 2026, we have our second attempt at this. It went back from 95 megabytes down to 7.5 megabytes. That is a 92% reduction, which isn't much of a difference compared to the original, but the results are seemingly much, much better. So hopefully what this means moving forward is that if this continues to be as successful as it seemingly appears to be with this recent update, that could mean, I would imagine, that would mean a significant reduction over time with the file size of the game. 92% for one single animation seems like a lot. I don't know exactly what the animation, like how much all of the animations in their entirety mean to the game's overall memory requirement. I don't know. I would imagine it's quite a bit. So if 92% of the animation's file size can be reduced, that would mean that the overall file size of the game would drop in an insane amount. I don't know. Over time, we will see. How often is this going to be taking place? How long does it take for each animation, or like bulk of animation file size reductions? How long does it take for each of these to drop? Given that it took about 4 months from it took about 2 months from their first announcement to try it, and then they failed, and then it took them about 4 months to do this. So will it take another 4 months for another maybe like 8 to 9 animations to be reduced? How long would this roadmap be until the eventual end game? And what would that end game be? A 20% reduction in the file size, 30%, 50%. I don't know exactly what the timeline is going to mean based on this, but it's definitely good news. So all I can really say is they finally made some strides in the right direction. Look forward to some potential updates in the future. This is all back-end stuff, so we don't actually have official word from them. Eventually, they will say something about this. Maybe not right now, and maybe not for the next one. Maybe only after a couple more times where they incorporate some file size reductions in the data downloads, that we will then see an official statement from them where they say, hey, listen, we've managed to actually follow through on our original vision back in October 2025. Maybe this will show up in some sort of a producer's letter. Maybe we'll get something during GDC. Maybe GDC will be where we get some sort of an update on that. That would be a pretty great time for them to show this. Like, it's sort of, we're sort of hitting a rebirth on Dragon Ball as a franchise, because we're going to be revisiting Dragon Ball Super. There's going to be a lot of traction, a lot of eyes on all the different Dragon Ball games. So for global, or for Dokkan's biggest celebration, where better than right there to talk about how, hey, this is a great game, welcome to the game, all these cool animations and stuff, and we're going to make this game a lot more install friendly for you guys on your lesser devices or your more casual devices. I think that's probably where we'll see something. But guys, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to like down below. Let me know in the comments your thoughts on this whole file size optimization project. Are you glad that they have been able to make some strides in this second attempt? Do you think that this is going to continue at a regular fast pace? Or do you think it's going to be a very long time before we actually see some meaningful drops in file size? Let me know your ideas. Anything else that I've missed? If you'd like to chime in further on this like back-end data stuff, feel free to do so in the comments down below. Also, be sure to subscribe for more Dokkan content in the future and click the notification bell so that you let YouTube know you want to see more of my stuff. Thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned and always remember to Dokkan responsibly.